What's up, Game Boys and Girls? Big T here, back with another video, and this is a second attempt because I recorded a whole long video, like 20 minutes long, and I went back to look at it, and there was no audio. I was just looking at the video, and it was just... I was like, oh man. I'm going to like combine my next or that video and another idea and try to chop it down to make so it won't be so long. Well, basically in that video I was talking about like excitement for the Switch 2, but another thing I wanted to talk about was something I kind of left off of the so-called bad, because at the time that I recorded that video, this stuff wasn't really concrete yet, so I didn't want to speak on it yet. But to talk about the game key card thing, so let's quickly talk about game key cards. I'm for them, and I'm also against them at the same time, because I'm glad that there's a way to still have some ownership of the game in some way, and still allow companies, especially smaller companies or companies who don't want to pay for the expensive carts, to have some kind of physical thing, some kind of retail presence, because I think that's still very important. But at the same time, I'm also worried that it will encourage people who can't afford the bigger cards or the real cards to put all their game on. They just won't do it because there's an option for game key cards. So while I'm happy about the fact that, like I said, they're giving some kind of retail presence, they're giving ownership to gamers on something that's basically a digital game with a code, I also worry that, and I know it will, and it probably already has, influenced some companies who can opt to buy the cards to not do it and just be cheap and go out the cheap way, and that kind of worries me. I wish there was an option to where, because there was different tiers of cards on the Switch. I wish that was still a thing, but maybe because the games are more high fidelity, the speeds or whatever, those old carts aren't fast enough to have you play them off the cart. Maybe that's one of the reasons we have the new kind of, I forget what they're called, but the new SD cards, you have to have a certain kind of card, some kind of like a turbo card or whatever it's called. Maybe because the games are high fidelity and faster, and they need faster loading, they won't work on the old Switch cards. But maybe I wish what could happen is that those cards could still act as like a storage device, a storage medium. So basically, you still have to download the game from that card, but it's kind of like remember when Xenoblade Chronicles X came out, and you had the download packs, and that was not a requirement, but kind of was, because the disc itself was not, disk drive is not fast enough to read the game because of the size of the game. So maybe in that situation, they could have had, again, use the old Switch cards, I forget what the numbers were. I think it was like 2 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes, 16 gigs, 32. Still have that be a thing, but maybe not read the game off the card itself. Maybe you still get that card, but you have to download the game. Like it's a requirement to download the game from the card, so it can read off of your hard drive. That is immensely better to me. That helps indie companies, especially. That's who I'm worried about most, because why would they buy a 64 gigabyte card for their game that's less than a gig sometimes, or maybe 3 gigs? That's just not financially viable for them to do that, so it doesn't make sense. So I just wish there was another way, something like that, where they just, again, use the old Switch cards, because obviously we know the Switch cards will work in the Switch 2, but you can't play it off the card. You have to download it to the card. I think that's a good medium to meet developers halfway. I don't know why Nintendo wouldn't do that, and I think a lot of gamers would happily. It's still a physical game. I just have to download it to the card, and I still have to use the card itself. But other than just being nothing on the card, like the game key cards are, actually have the game there, and that way, 20 years in the future, I'm not worried about a server like I would be with the game key card. So yeah, that's my take on that. So let's move on from that. That's part of the bad, if you will. Um, but also, I just want to talk about like excitement and lack thereof for the Switch 2. I think one of the main problems with the Switch 2, as far as excitement goes, is that it's a Switch Pro, right? Right, and I don't mean that facetiously or in a bad way. I'm just saying that it's a Switch that has better graphics for the most part. So you know, where the Switch was super exciting because it was a new thing, hybrid console. You can play it on the go, you can play it on your TV, you can play it on your tabletop. That was a very exciting thing. We've had that for 8 years now, so that's not really exciting. Still super convenient. We still love that feature, but it's not as exciting as it was, 8 years ago. So the luster of that excitement is gone, and we're just left with prettier graphics. All right, that's great, but then that gets chopped down by this whole game key card situation or download only situation. So that's less exciting. I'm excited for Cyberpunk 2077, a game I already bought twice. I already bought this game twice, and I'm going to buy it a third time because I want to support that practice of them putting the whole game on the card. I mean, obviously, it's the entire game. I don't have Phantom Liberty, so that's another incentive for me to buy that. And it's just really cool, right? It's cool that they're putting it all on the card. Same way they did with Witcher 3 on the Switch. They're doing it again with this game. All the DLC on the game, awesome. It's all on the card, and that is great for the history of gaming. That is great for preservation for games. Which is a huge thing for me. Some people don't care. A lot of people don't care about that in gaming, but I do. And I just think that's great. So I'm going to buy the game again. I'm probably going to play it that way because I only played a few hours. The good thing is that cross saves are a thing, and so I can still play it on my Xbox. That's the version I have. Played on my Xbox when I'm home. Played on the go, on the Switch. Perfect. I didn't want to buy it for Steam Deck because I didn't think the Steam Deck version looked great, and I wasn't too keen on my Legion Go either. I just didn't think, for me, it wasn't a viable enough option for me to get it that way. So again, I wanted the physical game, so I bought it physically on Xbox, and now here's a way I can play it on the go, and another physical copy of it, which is great. So looking forward to that. But like I said, there's not a whole lot of excitement because, first of all, Mario Kart World looks awesome. It looks amazing. But at the end of the day, it's still a Mario Kart game. So we mostly know what we're going to get with that game. So the excitement for that, a new IP, that's what you want to, not a new IP even sometimes. You just want a new game in an adventure series or some kind of, big game like that. And Mario Kart is that, but it's still a racing game at the end of the day. And when I say that, people seem to get a little like annoyed, or even like I'm demeriting it or something by saying it's a racing game. It's a racing game. Like Forza, as much as I love it, Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, they still don't scratch the itch of like what Halo does, for me on Xbox. It's a different itch, or Starfield, right? I still think Forza is amazing, but for me, if say an Xbox launched, I would rather have a Starfield type of game, some kind of Bethesda big RPG type of game over Forza. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different feel. Forza is a racing game is a nice complement, I think, to a launch. Definitely is to a launch lineup, racing games and stuff like that. We've always had that. Ridge Racer especially has always kind of been there. And it's going to be there again with Switch 2, I should say. So, but for me, that's not the main event. My main event is a big adventure game, a Mario, a Zelda, like we got with the Switch, the original Switch. We got Breath of the Wild. Yes, that was a Wii U game, but 90% of the people played it. 95% of the people played it on the Switch. Same thing with Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess came out. It actually came out on Wii first, but it was a GameCube game. But most people who played it, I guarantee you played it. I mean, I have to guarantee you. I know I've seen the numbers. Most people who played it on the Wii. So I mean, that's not taking anything away from the other version or anything like that. but it's just the fact that most people played it on that new system, that fresh new system. Excuse me, that fresh new system. And for me, that was a big necessary piece of the Wii's launch, is that we had that big meaty, you know, what I say, adventure game, action RPG, and Zelda. That is a great thing at launch. Had we had Mario Kart Wii at launch, it would have been good, but obviously Wii Sports was the catalyst that sold Wii's anyway. But I mean, after Wii Sports, like, I needed something, you know, more meaty. I needed something more, you know, something I can really dive into for my Wii. For any console, I looked for that. For GameCube, that was one of my issues with GameCube. Was that, you know, Luigi's Mansion is cool and all, but it wasn't a meaty enough game at launch for me to be excited. And the launch lineup for GameCube wasn't, you know, didn't really offer that. But I love my Rogue Squadron. I'm still in the beautiful, amazing game. But there wasn't that big game that kept me there. And that's, you know, even when Smash came out, Smash, again, is a fighting game. It is a racing game. It scratches an itch, but it doesn't scratch that, okay, this is the new big piece to the puzzle for my new console here out of the gate that I can really show off and have fun with. Didn't get that with GameCube. I remember feeling a little lacking after I bought my GameCube. I bought my GameCube. I want to say I bought 4 games. I can't remember. I never can remember this. But I know Luigi's Mansion was one. Rogue Squadron was another. Super Monkey Ball was one. And I think I got Madden 2002. I think it was Madden 2002. And, you know, I spent a lot of time in Madden because that was kind of the game that I spent a lot of time with because of the way it's set up. You know, it's obviously it's a multiplayer game, but it's also like I just played seasons and whatnot. But I didn't have that big adventure game that I'm looking for at the start of a new console. With Wii U, it was the same thing, but I got saved because of Darksiders 2. Darksiders 2 was my big meaty, you know, console game. A new console game to play. Obviously, it was a Nintendo game. It didn't have to be a Nintendo game. It was a new game to me that came out on a new console, and it held me over, you know, especially those first few months because there wasn't a whole lot coming after that. I think I ended up getting like Mass Effect 3, which was I bought it for way discounted. It wasn't like I didn't pay $60. That's nonsense. When everybody else got the trilogy for $60, like, nope, I ain't doing that. But yeah. So, like I said, for Wii U, it was Darksiders 2. Darksiders 2 is a big, you know, darker Zelda type game. It was fantastic. It was a perfect game. I need a game like that. Me personally, I need a game like that at launch. And obviously for Switch, that was Breath of the Wild. For Wii, like I said, we had Twilight Princess. Wii U, it was Darksiders 2. For GameCube, it didn't have it, and I felt a little lacking with the GameCube at launch. And I was only one of the few people that I knew had a GameCube. I'm trying to think other Nintendo consoles. Super Mario 64 for the N64, and that's the first console I bought. You know, my own money, and the console I bought at launch. Because I didn't. Yeah, before that we just got games when you can get them. You know, I was a kid. And so I was hoping to get something from birthday or Christmas and stuff. And that's what usually happened in those days. It wasn't like standing out line, you know, and forcing my parents to stand online, you know, for a console. That just wasn't a thing back then. So didn't start happening for me until N64. And then I think the big one that I attended easily was the Dreamcast. And the Dreamcast, again, another console that didn't have that big meaty adventure game. You know, people talk about, okay, maybe Sonic Adventure, but yeah, Sonic Adventure, it's called Sonic Adventure, but it's not really an adventure game. You're not like exploring worlds. You're running around. It is a beautiful, you know, awesome game. It blew my mind graphically at the time, especially in the speed and whatnot, but it's not like a real adventure game. It was an adventure game as far as Sonic goes, but it wasn't like a meaty, like, exploration type adventure game. And I need that. I need that I like to have a sports game if I can, be it racing or just like a traditional sports game, football or basketball or something like that, or both. A racing game, because racing games usually show off graphics in new consoles. They're a good showcase piece for visuals. For me, on GameCube, that was Rogue Squadron. That was kind of the sports game, if you will. But no, I also had Madden. Madden 2002 looked amazing back in those days too. So, you know, but I didn't have the big meaty adventure game. Luigi's Mansion was not that. I think I beat that game in like 6 hours or something, 7 hours originally. So it's a great game. But then I'm sitting there like, all right, what else do I got now? I got Pikmin's coming. A weird game. I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. And then Smash Brothers, I knew about that, and that was going to be basically a multiplayer party game, fun game. But at that time, a lot of my friends, we kind of had scattered. It was like post high school, somewhat college going on there when the GameCube came out, and I had to get 4 controllers, because I didn't know anybody with a GameCube. I didn't know hardly anybody who had a GameCube, and so I would have to get 4 controllers. I did eventually because I had younger siblings that I would play with, and those games finally came to the GameCube, by the way. But yeah, I'm rambling on. But so I'm just basically saying that's why the excitement isn't quite there yet. I know within a month I'll get the game that I wished it was at launch, and that is Donkey Kong Bonanza, because that is a big adventure game. A 3D Donkey Kong game, which we haven't had since the N64. Can you see if you can see it? Oh yeah, you can see it right there. Actually, there. That you can see my jungle green N64 with the beautiful banana yellow Donkey Kong 64 cart. I will vouch for that game. Of course, yeah. If you're trying to 100% that game, it can be a pain in the ass, but if you're just playing the game, you want to beat it, it's still a great adventure game, a great Donkey Kong game. And I'm glad to have finally a new 3D Donkey Kong game after 26 years, 99 to now. That's insane. That has been that long since we had a 3D Donkey Kong game. But obviously, Country Returns and Tropical Freeze are amazing 2D games. But I was, after Donkey Kong 64, I would expect we had something out there in this last quarter of a century. Crazy. That's crazy to me. But yeah, I think that's part of the reasons people aren't as excited. I mean, I have it pre-ordered. I'm happy. Obviously, I'm excited to have a new Nintendo console, and it's going to be nice to have, just new hardware. That's always going to be exciting. But I think, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's just a practical thing. The Switch 2 isn't as exciting. The mouse thing could be fantastic. We don't know yet. Right now, we know what mouse is for a computer, and that's all our heads can get to. And so there could be some really cool applications out there for the mouse. We don't know yet. I wish they maybe would have had something like that to get me excited. Kind of like what they did with the Switch when they showed like HD Rumble, and they didn't really, you couldn't really know what it was about, but it was cool that they were spending time showing you, hey, this is going to be cool. We didn't get that with the mouse. I haven't seen like a video showcasing the mouse doing anything. Maybe there's been like a quick little snippet kind of thing, but I mean like breaking down, okay, this is how the mouse functions, this is how it feels. How does it feel? It feels great, that kind of stuff. I haven't really seen that. So there's nothing to get me excited about the mouse outside of the fact what I can think of what's going to happen with it. So my imagination, isn't where Nintendo might be with their imagination on what they're going to do with the mouse. But that's not my fault. It's just how it's being presented to me. So, but again, I'm looking forward to June 5th. It's actually my mom's birthday as well. So, two great things happening that day. But yeah, Switch 2, I'm excited to have it. I'm trying to think of my launch title. I'm definitely going to get Fast Racing, whatever the new one's called. Nitro. I don't remember what it's called, but the new fast racing game with all its modes, all its like performance modes and graphic modes, and I think it's a little bit overkill. But I'm looking forward to getting that digitally, obviously. And I'm gonna get, it's like I said, Cyberpunk. Obviously, I bought the bundle with Mario Kart because I'm not paying $80 for Mario Kart, so I'll buy it digitally and have it on the, because it's gonna be convenient to have it on the system anyway. And then down the line somewhere, I'll pick up a cart for $45 or something like that, and then have it just so I can have a physical copy of it, because I do want one eventually. I did that with Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I got Tears of the Kingdom through a voucher system, and I just bought it a few weeks ago physically for like $40. So yeah, I'm not gonna I wasn't going to, pay that much for I'm not doing that. As far as I'm concerned, $70 is justified at this point for new games, but $80, I mean, that's just that's crazy to me. I'm not doing that. And thanks to Game Pass, I don't have to do it, because I'll get new games from them on Game Pass. And if I care to buy the game later, I'll buy it later at a discount. I'm not paying $80. I don't have to go out and buy the game day one, so whatever. But yeah, that's not anything to do with the Switch 2. But that's my video here, talking about my excitement, and like I said, adding on to the quote-unquote bad things that came with the Switch 2 announcement and whatnot, game key cards and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you excited for the Switch 2? And it's not, people act like it's a bad thing to not be overly excited the way I was for Switch. I don't think in those terms. I just think, hey, I'm just not as excited. It could be a number of things. I'm just getting old. I just don't care as much about gaming as I used to. I don't think that's the thing. I think I'm actually playing more video games probably than I ever had, maybe since my early or late teens to early 20s. I think right now I'm playing a whole lot more at this point, and a whole lot more different things. I've always had multiple consoles and PC in there, but this is probably the most I've played since that era, since the GameCube, Xbox, me on PC, and PS2 era. I didn't really have a PS2 till super late, but yeah, so I don't think it's that. I think it's just the fact that we're dealing with a Switch Pro, and that's also not a dig. It's just a more powerful Switch, much more powerful Switch, but still more powerful Switch. It's still a Switch at the end of the day, which is not a bad thing. It's just not exciting 8 years later. But yeah, that's my video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you again for watching and listening, and I'll see you fools next time. Hopefully this won't be a blank video. Peace out.